color enhancement for your scenic pictures, and this process can also be used for color correction as well. And you see here I have a nice shot of the Delaware water gap from our theater, and the first thing I'm going to do is just crop it a little bit. I see I got a little spot up there, and there we go. I'm just going to crop that a bit. And what you see, it's not a bad picture. It's got some nice clouds in the sky and some nice colored leaves here. And I'm going to have to clone out that, that cell phone tower. But I want to enhance the colors a little bit first. And I'm going to show you a non-destructive method for enhancing the colors. So that means I'm not going to compromise the original picture. And to do that, I'm going to come over here to my layers palette. Now, if you don't see this opened up, you can come up here to Window, Layers. And that gives me my Layers palette. And then at the bottom of the Layers palette, you see a circle that's half filled in. And I click on that, and this gives me all of my adjustments, my image adjustments that are all up here. Okay, it's the same ones, except down here, this is going to add an adjustment layer. So I'm going to click on my Levels layer, and then it's going to bring up my Levels window. So I'm just going to close that so you can see where that comes in my Layers palette. So I'm going to click on the adjustment again, and now I'm going to click on a Curves layer, and I'm just going to close this. So now you can see here I have my Levels layer and my Curves layer. So to adjust the levels and curves, I'm just going to click on them, and I'm going to do that the same way I normally do. I'm just going to drag this to where it meets the information, maybe a little bit more here. And now I'm going to click on this drop down arrow, the RGB drop down arrow, and you see it gives me access to all the different color channels. So I'm going to click on the reds, and I'm just going to adjust the reds the same way I would the other layers, the other levels. And I click on the greens, make a few adjustments. There's no step-by-step process for doing this. As you can see, I'm just dragging it to where there's information. And then I just take a look at that and see what I like, see what I think. And since it's on a layer, see this little eyeball here? If I unhide that, okay, and then show it, I can see the enhancements that I made. So I like what I did so far. And now I'm going to go to my Curves layer, and I'm just going to anchor down the ends because I just adjusted the shadows and highlights. And I'm just going to make this a little bit brighter here. I can go down, see what that looks like, but I'm going to bring it up. I think that looks nicer. And again, I'm going to go through each of the color channels here and anchor down the ends and just go through the adjustments. See how those reds pop when I bring that up? And I'm going to balance that out a little bit with the other color channels. Oop. Go up a little bit. I'm making a little more adjustment than what I normally would, just to show you. If I bring those blues down, look how it brings out the yellows there far off. So I'm going to bring those down actually, and I'm going to close that out, and I can show and hide. And like I said, if I don't like that, I can hide that layer and show it. This makes it a little bit brighter. This gives it a little deeper contrast. Okay, and then the last thing I can do, and this is optional, I'm going to come down here to my adjustment layer and click on Vibrance and just pop out those colors a little bit. Now that I've done what's called the color correction, now I'm going to enhance the colors just a little bit. You could probably go up to 10. I wouldn't go too much more than that. Then it starts to look fake if you do too much. And that's it. So that's my color correction and color enhancement. And I'm just going to hit save on that. And now you notice this is a Photoshop file. So I'm going to save this as a Photoshop file first. And I'm going to call it Water Gap Edit. underscore, so that I remember this is my editing file. So I can always go back and adjust these layers. If I show this to people and they're, like, it's a little too much, maybe I can hide that curves layer, okay, or hide the saturation layer if I want, but I can do that real quickly. If I were to save this and compress these layers in a JPEG and not have that editing file, I wouldn't have the ability to go back and make these adjustments. Okay, so I could go back anytime and open this file and just make some subtle adjustments to my edit, and that's it, I'm done. Okay, so since this is a non-destructive method, I can always go back and change my edits. The previous methods I showed you, we can't go back and change that. So I am going to go ahead then and save this again just as water gap, and I'm going to convert this to a JPEG. So then I'm going to have this in JPEG format and PSD, and this JPEG is what you would submit to Schoology, email. It's optimal for the web. I'm going to just keep that less than 1 megabyte again. So I'm going to go back down to 3. Click OK, and that's it.